what is written without effort is read without pleasure. So just make sure you put effort into writing all those documents which you have mentioned, and the recruiter or the hiring manager or whoever is going to read your CV is going to have a lot of pleasure in reading it and will call you for the interview.
Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. My name is Joan, the career coach, and today I'm joined by
Kenneth Muyoyo.
You've met Ken before, so he's not very new to my podcast, and I'm really looking forward to today's topic. Today we are talking about some job application mistakes that candidates make. Now I know the whole job application process can be very daunting. You are sending out thousands of applications, you're getting regrets, and it can be very depressing, very tiring. But it's not going to be useful if you're sending out thousands of applications and not getting any positive feedback. If that happens, then you need to sit back and ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? And that's why we thought it was going to be useful that we come on here and discuss this topic about some job application mistakes, and we've picked 10 that most job applicants normally make. So let's start. Ken, which is the first mistake?
I think, Joan, you can agree with me. The most glaring mistake in a CV, a cover letter, or any application document is the spelling and grammar mistakes.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a huge...
Even for us, like as writers,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's a huge red flag for writers and even the person who's reading the CV.
Yeah.
So there are many ways which you can do, which you can adopt to make sure that this mistake is at a level of 0 to 1%.
Yeah.
So the first thing, you can triple check your CV, triple check your cover letter. Just make sure you check using your eyes.
Yes.
And make sure you check the whole CV, check twice, check thrice. Make sure that it doesn't have any mistakes.
Right.
The next part, you can ask a friend to proofread the CV. You can ask your friend to proofread your cover letter too. And finally, you can read it out loud.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sound correct, it won't read well either. So make sure that you read it out.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out one thing about the spelling and grammar mistakes. Don't rely on the spell check for the ones which are embedded on the computers, like the ones for Microsoft Word, or even the ones for Grammarly. Just make sure you read the CV, read it through, and make sure that there are no spelling mistakes.
Right. One of the things that I love to do is after I've done the CV, like take a walk and then come back, because then your mind is fresh and your mind is clear, and you can be able to get some mistakes that you not have gotten if you're just in that space where you're just doing a CV. It's very easy to let a spelling mistake go through. Right. For me, the other mistake I see job applicants making is not tailoring the job description and the cover letter for that particular role. And sometimes I think I understand, because it's something that even I used to do, like back in the day. There's this job for UN and you want to apply for it, and the deadline is in 3 hours. So you feel, I don't have enough time to make the CV. So you end up sending a CV that is not tailored. So you've not tailored the CV and you've not tailored the cover letter. This is going to significantly reduce the chances that you land the job. And one of the things that we like saying is that always ensure that you have a CV ready. Have a CV ready, have a cover letter ready, so that then when you see a job that you love, you're just changing a few things and not doing a CV over from scratch. I don't know what you want to add.
Okay, so as you said, we should make sure that you have a CV beforehand, so that when you spot a job, you just look through the job, spot what the job requires, and match it to the CV.
Right.
That would be your ATS CV.
Yes.
So that brings us to the next mistake.
Yeah.
Using a wrong type of CV for an application. When you're sending an application directly to a recruiter, you might want to use the modern CV, because you want to make sure that the CV is as attractive as possible, such that it attracts the recruiter who's reading it or the hiring manager.
Right.
When you're applying for a job online and it requests you to upload the CV, you want to use your ATS CV.
Yeah.
That is because this job will be passed through the ATS system, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then when you're using your ATS CV, make sure you convert it to PDF such that it doesn't lose the flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And just let's not assume that they know what an ATS CV is. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. So there are certain organizations, especially multinationals or large organizations that have thousands and thousands of applicants. They're not going to go through all those CV. Your CV is going to first get vetted by a machine software before it lands the human resource desk. So you need to make sure that that CV is ATS compliant, it's ATS friendly for it to pass the ATS first. Then now, after it's passed the ATS, then you can be, called for an interview. So if your CV is not ATS compliant, the human resource manager is not, or the recruiter is not going to ever look at your CV. So it's really, really important that you know which type of CV to use for which type of organization. Then the third mistake I feel job applicants normally do is LinkedIn profile. So some job applicants don't have a LinkedIn profile entirely, or your LinkedIn profile has a silhouette, or your LinkedIn profile is so brief, or you just did a shoddy summary and left it. I would actually prefer that if it's shoddy, like don't have it completely, as opposed to having something that's shoddy, because the recruiter, the first thing they're going to do after they've gotten your CV, they're going to check your LinkedIn profile. So you want to have documents that are aligned, the CV, and this is the modern CV and the ATS CV, the cover letter, the LinkedIn profile. All these documents need to give one story. What is there on your CV cannot, you cannot be an engineer on your CV and then on the LinkedIn profile you are a customer service representative. Yeah, I don't know what you want to add.
Okay, so for the LinkedIn, if you want to make sure that your LinkedIn sells you properly for the particular job that you're applying for, you want to make sure that your summary is as detailed as possible. It contains all your achievements, how your passions align to what you're doing, and you also want to make sure that you have a professional photo. Just as you'd say, you can't have a silhouette as the background of your LinkedIn. So make sure you have a professional photo and update all the jobs accordingly, such that they match with your CV.
Right.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So another mistake which you should try to avoid in your application is including the personal details.
Right. Yeah.
So the personal details include your age, where you're born, or your ID number. I've seen some people adding their ID number. So the bad thing about including your personal details is they can create a bias when the recruiter sees your CV. Let's say a recruiter wants to hire for this position and they're hiring people who are young and your age is 45, you want to make the cut because you included the personal details. So I know, like in high school or in campus, we were taught that we have to include the date of birth, the location, like the PO box. Just include like the country. You can include your summary, skip the personal details, just go straight to the summary. Also, a photo can create bias, so don't include it, especially in the ATS CV, because it will make the CV not compliant to the ATS software. I don't know if you have anything to add on the personal details.
Right, and sometimes, and this you're going to use your discretion. So if you've seen this job ad, and they're saying they want people of a certain age, including the year you finished campus, sometimes could mean that you're left out of many applications if they are, if they're wanting to hire young people, because you see, it's actually illegal for you to be discriminated against because of your age. So they cannot ask that directly. So what they can do is they can check which year you graduated and do some calculation to just see which age bracket you fall under. So if you're a bit older and you're trying to get back into the job market, avoid putting your age directly or even the year which you graduated. It's not compulsory, for that information to be there on your CV.
Yeah. So the next mistake is having a CV that's too long.
Yeah.
Or having it too short.
Right.
You'd want to capture all the relevant information, right? So when capturing the relevant information, you should make sure that the CV doesn't go past 2 pages, especially if you have a lot of experience. So that means that you only input few key elements that will persuade the recruiter to read your CV, because the purpose of a CV is to land you an interview,
not a job,
not the job. So when you are called to the interview, that's when you can explain what the additional info that was left out from your CV.
Yeah. So and I think I want to add that never feel that if you don't put everything on your CV, you're not going to get shortlisted. Actually, the shorter it is, the high chances are, that recruiter, wants to reach out to you. As long as the design and the format looks very good and it looks appealing, and there are no spelling mistakes and the CV looks good, it's going to make the cut. So don't feel the need to want to put everything, because that's the other thing that I've seen with so many of our clients. They want to put everything on the CV, and we are wanting to ensure that it's as summarized as possible.
Talking about the summary, like you can represent a 20-word sentence using 5 words. So that's what you should aim at while making your CV or your cover letter. Make sure that the sentences are short, clear, and concise, such that it makes sure that your CV, by using that, you'll make sure that the CV is as short as possible.
Right. I remember in primary, okay, of course, we were like in different years, but there was something called, like, when you're writing to MoneyGram, right? And you had to summarize. Do you remember such an exercise?
Okay, so for us, it was, I don't know, ufupisho in
Kiswahili.
It was ufupisho in Kiswahili and paraphrasing. You're given a paragraph and you're told to paraphrase the paragraph using less than 20 words or 15 words.
Exactly. Because I remember for us it was when you're sending like something per poster, or I think Marida or something like that. But I remember you're given some very few words. So you should reduce the words from maybe 300 to like 150. So it's the same thing we are saying here, that you shouldn't put everything, and there's a way you can reduce those large sentences to shorter sentences, but they are speaking to your value and what you bring to the table. The other mistake I see is, so there's this job you've seen at UN, and the job application is long. Like there are 57 steps. And I know sometimes when you see that, you're like, oh my goodness, like it doesn't, why should I even bother? And I know there's so many job applicants who have missed out on opportunities just because they did not organize themselves enough to be present and do that application very well. And there are certain things that you can do. You can ensure that you have these different types of CVs that you're talking about: the modern CV, the ATS CV, the cover letter, and the LinkedIn profile, because this means that you have a lot of content that you can use and play around with in this in this job application process. Because these questions are always the same. They're asking about your value in 200 words. They're asking about what are your strengths, what are some of your weaknesses, why do you believe you're the best candidate for this particular role, why should we hire you to this role, what have you read about our organization, how do your skills and your experiences match to this particular job. And I know sometimes when you see that question, they're asking the same thing, maybe they've worded it differently. So when you have the documents prior, it means then you're not very stressed, because then you're just like actually moving things around, you're copy pasting here and getting content from your LinkedIn, from the ATS CV, and using it for the application. I don't know if you have something to add.
To add on to what you're just saying, you can also have apart from having the cover letter, ATS and LinkedIn prepared prior, you can also have your career management file. So in the career management file, you can have all the commendations that you got from your previous employers, all the achievements, because once you get 10 years into your career path, you might forget something that you did when you're starting. So in the career management file, you can have all the things that you did since day one, since you started your career, and you'll be able to get information to answer the questions easily when they're all sorted together in a file.
Right. And this file can be in hard copy or soft copy. I know there are people who are old school. Yeah. And it has like all your job descriptions. I usually advise my clients to, when you're working, keep track of the achievements and the work that you do. Like write those things down, because then sometimes people normally forget. Like when we ask our clients, tell us what you've been doing in your current job, it's very easy for someone to leave some things out and not maybe remember later on after the CV has already been done. So keep track of your achievements, keep track of the work. Even if you feel that work is very mundane, just write all that work down, so that then your career management file, it has your job descriptions, because sometimes what is there on the JD is very different from what you're currently doing. So you actually have both. If you've been given recommendations, if you've been given awards, if you've attended, if you've done certain projects, if you've done some trainings and developments, anything that you have done that speaks to your career, if you've been invited for, to a radio station or a TV station to speak, you've gone for a speaking engagement, put all those things there. So then when you're writing your CV, or when you're doing these job applications, it becomes very easy because everything is in one place.
Yes. The next mistake is having the duties or the job description over the achievements in the CV.
Right, that's a big one.
Yeah. So in the CV, you should have the achievements in the section where normally people put the job description or the duties. So to get the achievements, you can use a format called problem, action, and results. So you identify a problem in the organization, which you had identified. Then you identify the action which you took towards solving that problem. And then you identify the result which came about from the action which you took. So having that format in mind, you can get the achievements which you should replace over the duties which you're having under each role that you performed.
Right.
So another thing, you can also try and quantify the achievements.
Right, that's a big one.
Yeah, so quantifying the achievements will mean that you show results for every duty that you performed. So I don't know if you can give an example to that. An example for quantifying an achievement, giving the result for any duty that you have performed.
So when you're quantifying the results, you're quantifying in terms of time, you're quantifying in terms of cash, money. You're quantifying in terms of quantities. So let me give an example. So maybe you're a marketing associate, and you came up with a strategy that ensured the profit margins of your organization moved from maybe $500,000 to $1 million. So you see, you're quantifying in terms of money. Like we can see, we moved from here to there because of something that you did, or you reduced the time it took for a client to receive the output. So that is time, or you're a HR professional, and you increased the engagement levels of your of the pool of the team by maybe like coming up with lunch and learns, or sporting activities, or other forums where employees can join in and participate. So you want to always use numbers and percentages, and you're using time and quantities, because recruiters and hiring managers, they love seeing numbers. So think about when you're being hired to that organization, what did they say they're going to measure you against? Because even if you're a lawyer, there's a way that you can quantify your achievements in terms of how many cases have you closed, how many did you win. Maybe you've never lost a single case, so you see, you can say 100% success rate.
So John, most of the people in the NGO sector ask, how do they quantify their achievements?
So in the NGO world, we have roles like project manager, we have monitoring and evaluation
Yeah.
officers, we have program managers. So you see, like so let's say I'm working in Dadaab,
Yeah.
and you know I'm tasked to like maybe distribute food or something like that.
Yes.
Reducing the time it took from when we got those products to when the beneficiaries got. Improved the process in which we tracked how many families we have fed.
Yeah.
Also, like tracking how many families have benefited from our our presence there.
Yeah.
Documenting, like maybe
Yeah.
I did I did videos and photos, and this ensured that our reach in terms of our Facebook moved from 5,000 to 10,000. So you really need to think about what you're being measured against, and then when you think and look up at those key performance indicators, see how you can attach numbers to them.
Yeah, that's very insightful. The next mistake that most people do in making applications is having bad visual representation, especially in their CV or their cover letters.
And I think we were talking about this, and that's why we were saying it's really important that you have a modern CV that is visually attractive. We tailor a modern CV for a human being.
Yes.
The modern CV is tailored for a human being. The ATS CV is tailored for a machine. And I normally say that I think it's because human beings are very vain. If I gifted you something, even if it was this amazing, let's say amazing perfume, but I put it in a gunia, you'll probably throw it away.
Yes.
And maybe I would, my other gift would be like maybe 100 bob, but then I've put it in such a nice box. So you'd be so excited opening.
Yeah.
Because you see, like human beings are very vain. So you want to ensure the way you have packaged your CV, especially the modern CV that we normally send to a particular person, to a particular email address, is visually attractive.
Yeah. So to add on to what you said, even the ATS CV can be visually attractive.
Yes. Our ATS CV is very attractive.
Yeah. So to ensure that the ATS CV is visually attractive, you want to make sure that the flow is good.
Yes.
You want to make sure that the font size is uniform.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that the font style too is uniform.
Right.
Make sure that you use white space to your advantage, because white space actually aids in how a person is going to read a document.
Right.
If you're reading a document or even a book which is compressed, at times you'll find that you get bored, or you find you have even skipped some part.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you're using white space to your advantage.
Right. And the other thing we forgot to mention, as far as mistakes that applicants make, is dishonesty.
Yeah.
And I see it over and over again. You lying on your CV. So you're lying about which year you graduated, or you're lying about the places where you worked. And then if the references are called, they say they don't know this person, or you're lying about your achievements, or you're lying about the job description. You see, the thing about lying is that, if you lie that you speak French, and then you go for an interview and they ask you, tu parles français, and then you say, je suis Joanne, that interview is going to be over. So just for me, it's always like, honesty is the best policy. Just say the truth.
Yeah. I think another thing we forgot is the use of cliches.
Yeah.
So a cliche is something that has been overused until its meaning doesn't exist anymore. Let's say like working well in a team. Okay, so instead of saying that you work well in a team, you can word the CV such that it showcases that you work well in a team. Don't mention it directly. So cliches also can come in form of having result oriented, action oriented, perfectionist. Okay, so instead of stating those, you should actually give evidence to show that you are result oriented or action oriented, or a perfectionist, but that's not encouraged in an application.
Exactly. So you want to avoid anything that is going to make your CV look like any other CV. So you want to ensure that before you send out any application, just go through some of those mistakes that we have mentioned. It's not going to benefit you if you are sending out thousands of applications and you're not getting any feedback, either because there's too much cliche on your CV, or your CV is too long or too short, or it's not visually attractive, or you're using a modern CV where I should be using an ATS CV, or your CV has spelling mistakes and grammatical errors, or you've not tailored your CV for a particular job, you've not tailored the CV and the cover letter, or you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it's not existent. Please ensure that you invest in ensuring that you have a good modern CV, a good ATS CV, a good LinkedIn profile, a good cover letter, and all these documents are saying one story and are selling you the best way possible. So I don't know, Ken, if you have a parting shot?
Yeah. So my parting shot would be, what is written without effort is read without pleasure. So just make sure you put effort into writing all those documents which you have mentioned, and the recruiter or the hiring manager or whoever is going to read your CV is going to have a lot of pleasure in reading it and will call you for the interview.
Great. So that's all that we had for today. I hope you found this session beneficial. Thank you and see you next time.